Hey, Breakaway and Edge, thanks for joining with us today, either for virtual small groups or maybe you're seeing this later on. But we are only a couple short weeks away from Christmas finally being here, and we're going to be taking a break until January. So I'm glad you guys are seeing this because this is our last meetup or video that we're going to have until January. So glad you guys are here. Now, have you guys ever been a part of something where you knew you had to take a picture or a video or else nobody was going to believe it? Or, you have a friend that tells you this crazy, ridiculous, absurd story and you're like, there's no way that happened unless you have evidence of it, right? It's like that old phrase, picture it didn't happen, right? We've all lived that out before. And we even see this as a part of Jesus's birth story. So we're going to dive into that in a minute. But every year around this time, we talk about Jesus's birth, right? As we're coming up to Christmas, we love talking about that. Now, maybe for you, if you've been at church for a long time, it's kind of old news. You've heard about it throughout your whole life. Maybe you grew up with it. But there's also some of you guys watching that I know might not be 100% with where you stand in your faith. You're not really sure what to believe about Christmas. You're not really sure, what you believe about Jesus and what it means for you. So this could be new. Or maybe for some of you guys, you haven't heard much about God at all in your life. Maybe you're newer to church, your family might be newer to church, or you're just coming across this video and really have not had much thought in your faith. So you're not really sure what Christmas is all about other than just the presents and time with family, right? But here's the truth. A lot of what we hear about Christmas and God himself are things that we need to experience ourselves. It's like the picture it didn't happen. Other people can tell us these stories. We can read about them in the Bible. We can hear pastors talk about it on stage or Trey and myself talk about it. But until we experience it ourselves or until we get to have an experience with God, it might not seem as real as it could actually be, right? It might look more absurd or ridiculous than actually real because we have not had those experiences ourselves. And so we are going to look at the story of Jesus' birth. And the reason why is because we are all invited to experience God. We are all invited into this. And I want you guys to have those experiences for yourself. So in the book of Luke, in chapter 2, is the whole story of Jesus' birth. And I would love for you guys to read it on your own after this. But I'm just going to kind of skim through a couple parts of Jesus' birth story right here. So this is where we read the Christmas story. When Joseph and Mary were engaged, they found out Mary was pregnant with Jesus, who's the Savior of the world. Then they got married and traveled to Joseph's hometown of Bethlehem to be counted for a census, which is where they count how many people live in certain areas. We still have censuses to this day, but you had to go back to your hometown for the census. That is where Mary gave birth to Jesus, and they placed him in the manger, right? Because there was no room there was no guest rooms available at the inn, right? You've probably heard that story. And then an angel appeared to the shepherds in the field nearby and announced Jesus's arrival. So they hurried to see the Messiah for themselves, and they praised God for all they had seen. Now, this is the part that I want to look at today, is the shepherds, which we probably don't look at very often. Now, the shepherds heard what the angel said, right? The angel came to the shepherds in the field. They heard what the angel said, and they're like, man, we got to go see this for ourselves. We need to get over there and go see this Jesus who was born in a manger. They wanted to experience God for themselves, right? They heard what the angel had said. They heard about the story, and they wanted to experience it themselves. The reason that's important is because God invites all of us to have a faith that's our own. That's what this story reminds me of, is that we are all invited to get to know Jesus. We are all invited to experience Jesus. So I want to ask you guys, and I want you guys to be thinking about this question as you enter the Christmas season, is how are you going to visit the manger? What are you going to do to have a personal experience with Jesus that is unique to you? Are you going to continue showing up to Breakaway and Edge where you can hear more stories about God and have a communal experience, learning about God and experiencing him and praising and worshiping him? Maybe for you, it's asking more questions to your small group leader or Trey and I or another pastor or somebody in your life, maybe it's your parents, so that you can keep exploring, discovering, and learning more about God. Or maybe for you, it's making a decision about your faith, right? There's a lot of different ways that we can have personal experiences with God. And I want you guys to think about that question, is what are you going to do to get to know Jesus? How are you going to visit the manger and experience God for yourself? All right, guys, Merry Christmas. I hope you have an amazing time with your families. I hope you get a good break from school. And I hope that you guys have an amazing holiday. Merry Christmas. God bless. Love you guys. Talk to you guys later. Bye.